A few months ago, I finally finished the endless summer break from high school and went off to university. In the time since, I've delved back into computer science and coding projects, which has sort of reignited my passion for making video games. In high school, particularly during COVID, I've worked on a number of prototype projects, everything from gravity simulators with basic guns to a Block Swords-inspired puzzler with changing cube sizes. However, I've never completed any of these ideas. I tend to make the initial concept or prototype and then move on to something else. At least, that was all until I participated in a game jam hosted by Respawn Entertainment. They included this, helpful video that explained the theme.
Respawn.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
We are Respawn Entertainment.
I just wanna be part of you.
Hey, for the game jam this year, our theme is symbiotic relationships.
From there, my team created a truly amazing work of art, something that shocked the judges to their core. Oh. Maybe not, but it was an effort. Either way, the game jam reignited some of that old passion I had in my early high school years to create things, but now I want to complete those projects, turn those prototypes into playtests, and those playtests into something others can actually enjoy. Introducing what I intend to be my first game, World Obelisk, an isometric 2D MacGuffin defense game where you fight off a corruptive influence called the Storm in order to restore worlds back to their pure state. Oh, you want to see it? Well, that's the thing. It does not exist yet. No. I'm going to take you with me from the most basic scratches and prototypes of this game, all the way up until we finish this thing. World Obelisk is one of many projects that float around in my mind, but now, with you, I intend to at least turn some of them into a reality. It's going to start off rough. It's going to probably suck for the first few videos, but eventually, just maybe, I'll have something here for you to watch and to play and eventually enjoy. Alright, let's get started. Alright, the very first thing we need to decide is what game engine we're using. There's many options here, but the three largest ones are generally Unreal Engine, Unity, and Godot. Unreal is made by Epic Games, the people who made
Fortnite Battle Pass.
Generally, the engine can create high-fidelity 3D games with high-quality graphics, but it's way too overly complicated for our purposes making a 2D pixel art game. Godot is an open-source game engine that is excellent for 2D games and is getting better at making 3D games recently. It has a much larger community than Unreal, so you can see a lot of tutorials and forum posts and other stuff, and it is great for indie devs. If I was starting out now and never had any game design experience in the past, this is what I would choose. Unity is an engine that is great for both 2D and 3D games, with an absolutely massive community. Unfortunately, their recent corporate decisions are questionable at best. However, it's also the engine I'm most experienced with, and for the purposes of making my first complete game, is going to be the one I stick with. But for now, we need to simply open up the hub, create a new 2D project, and begin the start of game development. We begin with the infamous blank scene, the base upon which all games are made. The very first thing I'd like to do is make our base character, who will temporarily be this little white cube that moves around on the screen. Now, there are two main ways in which we can make a sprite move. One is with a character controller, which will directly set and move the sprite around, without physics calculations. If it's going to move into a colliding box, then the movement is cancelled. The other method is to manipulate a rigid body, which applies physics to our character and actively simulates their movement. Since I intend for there to be knockback and other interesting collision things within this game, I'm going to use this method, even though it's probably going to cause me issues later down the line. To make our character move, we start by making a basic script which simply gets our vectors of direction from keyboard inputs and a general speed variable we can adjust. By simply updating the velocity each frame to the resulting vector, we have movement. Of course, we can't just have this plain old boring white cube. Let's give him a few extra pixels and Bam! He's a cool cube now. And you know, if we continue with this stellar design philosophy, we can easily just modify the colors and bada boom. Now we have an evil cube to chase around our player. I'm just gonna call this guy Nathaniel. By using a very basic script that simply calculates the direction to the player and moves there. Try that again. Nope. Okay. Alright, here we go. A basic script that calculates the direction to the player and moves there. We now have an enemy that you can basically just run away from. And if I go ahead and throw in this giant square with some collision, bam, now we have the world obelisk. You see? This is a game world and the pillar's an obelisk, so world obelisk, right? Yeah? Yeah? No? No? Oh. Let's at least make a way to fight off Nathaniel, since right now he just ruthlessly bumps into me all aggressively. A simple way to do this while also preparing for later systems is to add an arrow indicating the direction of our mouse. By obtaining the mouse position and rotating around the player as an anchor, we have a simple way to indicate the general direction of the mouse pointer, which will be helpful for combat later on. I sort of intend to have the left click be melee weapons. You indicate the direction of that by just pointing your mouse towards the enemies, and right clicking being a sort of long range weapon that will shoot directly towards your mouse pointer. Let's also add a health bar that takes damage when you get touched by an enemy. We can do this easily enough by creating a health script that tracks a value and contains a function to change that health based on an enemy hitting you. With some collision calculations, the enemy now deals, say, 5 damage out of 25 when it touches you. By implementing a simple bar in the top left that just tracks the value of the health, it gives us a health bar. And quick sidetrack, let me just add some placeholder tiles to make this look a little easier on the eyes. Okay, now in order to attack Nathaniel, we can place a small circle with the center at the point arrow. If Nathaniel's within the bounds of the circle when you left click, it will apply the health change function and deal 5 damage to him out of his overall 10 health. With that, 2 clicks, and Nathaniel is dead. Serves you right thinking you can run around bumping into me like that. And well, with that we have the extremely basic start of a game. Let's be real here. If you opened up Google Images right now and looked up a picture of a garbage, unfinished prototype, this would show up. This video is sort of a proof of concept for me as a test of whether or not I could do this style of content and whether I want to continue with it. Now that I finished making this, I can say that I will. I want to take this channel forward and make interesting things for you to both watch and someday play. The progress made here was minor, but the next video will be far more elaborate and show a lot more of it. I intend to make the core gameplay loop, so you know, actually making the obelisk important for the main mechanics, along with better enemy logic. I'd also like to try working on basic sprite work, though I'm still new to pixel art, so everything I add in that regard is probably going to be replaced as I get better. Anyway, hopefully all that combined will make for a better YouTube video, and a much longer one. Until then, I shall see you next time. Toodaloo.